I'm joined down the line by Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show on the very successful American Daily Wire. Michael, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Trump in the campaign, running up to November 25. I can settle the Ukraine war in 24 hours. And whilst no one took him absolutely literally, I don't doubt for a minute that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, his special envoy, Witkoff, they are trying like crazy to negotiate a peace deal that both sides can sign. But does it feel like it's getting any closer to you?
Well, the problem in war is that your opponent has a say. And so, I think one thing that Vladimir Putin and Zelensky and Trump all agree on is that the war in Ukraine would not have started had President Trump remained president after the 2020 election.
I agree with that.
But we are where we are. You go to war with the army you have, and you play the hand that you're dealt, and any other number of metaphors that we can mix. And so the problem is, I agree with you, Nigel. I don't think Putin really has any interest in a peace right now. And so you can see other moves being made on the chessboard. And frankly, President Trump's action in Venezuela, which was extraordinarily efficient and I think successful, in many ways, that's probably doing more to weaken Vladimir Putin's hand than some of the negotiations we've seen for years now.
Well, I hope that's right. I hope that what Trump did has weakened Putin's hand. And of course, there was a Chinese delegation in Caracas when it happened. So we'll see how that plays. But I want to ask you this question. It's very, very interesting. Let's have a look at what Trump said the day after Maduro was taken away as president about the future of the running of Venezuela.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
So dead simple, we are going to run the country. Dead simple. But then we get this from acting President Delcy Rodriguez, who says, we invite the US government to collaborate with us on an agenda of cooperation orientated towards shared development within the framework of international law to strengthen lasting community coexistence. So, Michael Knowles, let me ask you, who is going to be running Venezuela? I'm confused.
Well, I don't think that the acting president of Venezuela invited those 150 American airplanes in to snatch out Maduro in the span of 88 minutes. So she can talk a good game about how she's running things. And obviously, the president doesn't want there to be some collapse of government and civil unrest. I think they've managed this transition very beautifully. But Trump was clear in an interview that followed up, and he said, look, I trust that Delcy will do a good job, because if not, she's going to end up worse than Maduro. So I suspect she will stay in line and hopefully maintain some order in the country. Meanwhile, obviously, the final say is going to go to President Trump and poor Marco Rubio, who at this point has, I think, 15 jobs in the U.S. government and is single-handedly keeping the unemployment rate down because of the average employment. He's doing his own part. But the U.S. is guaranteeing it, no question.
Yeah, military power is one thing. Administrative power and structure is quite another.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives. And we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponize against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward. And that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Just stay with me, please, if you would. I want to have a quick chat with my panel. Two big differences there. One, the military operation, incredibly successful, stunning.
Yeah.
The planning must have been meticulous. But I'm finding it difficult to work out who's going to run Venezuela.
Well, and wouldn't the sensible thing to do, if you thought Maduro was an absolute, shouldn't be in power, that he stole the election, you bring back the opposition leader who won the Nobel Prize and dedicated it to Donald Trump. Now, that's the obvious
thing. She's living in Spain now, isn't she, in exile?
So why put in, Maduro's number two, who clearly is not going to play ball? You bring back the opposition leader, because at least that way you give Trump, who's really only after Venezuelan oil and business interests, but you give him the cloak of restoring democracy.
I struggle. I'm going to come back to Michael Knowles on that point in a moment. Your thoughts on it, Ronald?
Yeah, I mean, look, clearly whenever you take action like this, you've got to have an end game in mind. And obviously events unfold and things might change, but there needs to be some sort of exit strategy, unless he is serious about, for the long run, acting as an imperial power. And I don't think that's where he wants to be.
No.
So he needs to have an end game, he needs to have an exit strategy, and he needs to set that out pretty quickly.
Michael Knowles, two thoughts on the comments that have just been made by my panel. The first, we all assumed that the Nobel Peace Prize winning opposition leader would be Trump's favoured pick. None of it. That came as a surprise. And secondly, let me ask you, the MAGA crowd are very, very nervous of American overseas involvement. During Trump's first term, there was a hit on Syria. We had the Iran hit. They can take hit-and-run raids. But is the MAGA base going to split over this if this turns into a long-term game?
I don't think the MAGA base is going to split. Importantly, Venezuela's not overseas. You can get down there by land. And I actually think this is a meaningful distinction, because President Trump, he wants to avoid the errors of the Bush era, where we had these endless wars, far-flung, ignoring interests that were closer to home. So even the foreign policy realists, even the people who want more constraint, they recognize the Monroe Doctrine has been U.S. foreign policy for over 200 years. We have intervened in Latin American regimes dozens of times over history. And I actually think it was quite wise of President Trump not to totally upend the regime in Venezuela. This is not spreading Madisonian democracy all over the world. According to the reporting today, the Nobel Prize winner, Maria Cachado, simply didn't have a persuasive plan to run Venezuela. And so President Trump, I think, erred on the side of caution. He reportedly was impressed by the acting president's ability to keep oil coming out even amid U.S. sanctions. And so, there's an idea here that we're going to circumscribe the revolution, not allow this to delve into civil unrest, and just make sure that our own backyard is orderly. I think somehow he's managed to pacify both the neocons and the non-interventionists. It's a stroke of brilliance, I think.
There we are. Michael Knowles, thank you very much indeed. A stroke of brilliance, says Michael Knowles. Well, we will see where this ends up. What would be a disaster is if it went on for years.